A Poem for Our Times by Valerie Connors. As the bells rang out at midnight, when the new year had begun, we cheered in blissful ignorance of the horrors still to come. For an enemy was lurking, but still without a name, to prey on all humanity. Life would never be the same. It started with the rumours of a death so far away. In China and the Far East it came from bats, they say. A virus that was so deadly, affecting sick and old. But the young would be protected, for them just like a cold. So China called a lockdown, and the people stayed inside. And many went to hospital, and many people died. But those of us in Britain carried on without a care. Too far away to bother us, it's just a little scare. Our leaders said don't worry, the risk to us is low. Most of us won't get too sick unless we're very old. But the virus hid in corners as it crept around the world. From east to west it travelled, its fury yet unfurled. Some countries they were clever, they saw the threat unveil. They tracked and traced and tested so their people would prevail. But others struggled greatly. In Italy and Spain, the hospitals were overrun and people died in pain. We watched as this unfolded, but it couldn't happen here. The UK's made of sterner stuff, our leaders made that clear. We'll shield the old and shield the sick, and that should be okay. The rest of you can go to work and still go out to play. So life remained as normal. Mass gatherings were approved. They failed to heed the warning signs. Our leaders were unmoved. We'll aim for herd immunity. Yes, that's the way to go. We're following the science here. But the science was too slow. Then suddenly the message changed. Disaster loomed ahead. We're going to lose too many lives. So this is what they said. Stay home, save lives, good citizens, and protect the NHS. We'll give you lots of money so you won't get in a mess. Thus lockdown here was started. New hospitals were built to nurse the sick and dying so they wouldn't feel the guilt. Or remember they'd ignored the risk, our leaders great and good, who were following the science and had been misunderstood. And so began the battle here for many thousand lives, and children lost their parents, and husbands lost their wives. And all the while our heroes were the carers in our midst, the frontline staff, our lowest paid, too many here to list. They also cared for Boris when the virus made him ill, and he owed his life to the NHS, to the health staff and their skill. So they promised to protect them, with equipment, gloves and gowns. They said there would be plenty, enough to go around. But the PPE was lacking when the virus hit in waves. So we clapped and cheered and said well done, while we sent them to their graves. And in amongst the mayhem, our leaders would forget to shield the old in care homes who died to their regret. And those who lived in Wales, well, they couldn't get a test. And the leaders said, don't worry, with the Senate we know best. We're following the science here, so please don't be distressed. And all the people stayed at home. They slept and learnt to bake. But the shops ran out of flour, so we couldn't make a cake. We were allowed to exercise, but only once a day. We drank too much and watched TV, the lockdown here to stay. We missed our friends and family, though we didn't all complain. We kept in touch by WhatsApp, but it wasn't quite the same. So what about the future? And will this ever end? Will life go back to normal? Will I ever see my friends? Will the science find the answers to the questions that we seek, to help us fight the virus, for the old, the sick, the weak? I'm hoping for a better world, and when this nightmare's done, we'll care for one another, for our planet, moon and sun. so that history won't judge us too harshly or too strong. And remember 2020 as the year it all went wrong.